Welcome to the Bite of Art podcast, your daily dose of contemporary art insights. My name is Ivan Despotovic, and together with my guests, we'll guide you through the latest trends and developments in contemporary art across Europe. This podcast is part of the Bite of Art initiative that is co-funded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union. And our goal and aim is to bring innovation in creation, consumption, and dissemination of contemporary art, making it more attractive, more accessible, and mainstream throughout Europe. I have pleasure to announce next guest in the Bite of Art podcast episode. Here with me is Marijana Kolarić. Majo, I would say, and start your announcement as a friend of Bite Initiative, since you were supporting our work from the very beginning, and even the first exhibition where Bite was piloted was in November Gallery, which you led back then in 2020. But even more important, you are art historian, you are curator, and in the meanwhile, you also became director of the Museum of Contemporary Art in Belgrade. And welcome, Majo, to the Bite of Art podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Ivan. Thank you for this beautiful introductory.
Welcome.
And yes, it was really a pleasure to collaborate from the beginning. And in the moment when I remember the COVID was started and almost all the programs and many institutions started to think about digital venues or news or using digital tools for sharing not only informations but also some kind of events and stories and this kind of thing. So we had the pleasure to make first this viewing room.
Yes.
It was a digital guided guide tour through the exhibition, so it was really interesting even for our public.
Yeah, I remember that a lot of galleries were envy because you were at the moment the only one which had prepared like digital tour, virtual guided tour, and it was like we were ready for the COVID even before the COVID was announced in the media. So I remember that. Majo, I would actually go a few years later. I also already said that you became a director of the Museum of Contemporary Art here in Belgrade, Serbia. And I must say, for the beginning, that I'm very happy that you are running this institution, which is the most important institution in contemporary art here in Serbia. I can say that for some time, even after years of being closed and under temporary authorities, we can say that for now we have continuous and quality programs here in the museum that are paving a significant impact to the Serbian society. I'm curious to know, how are you looking at 3 and something years? You told me that you are already here.
Yes, already 3 years passed, even though I have a feeling that it was a little bit less because the time flows really fast. But we did a lot of things, you're right. And maybe one of the biggest challenge was to attract again public into the museum. As you said, the museum was previously closed for 10 years due to reconstruction and finally reopened in 2017. And I mean, in these 10 years, maybe some of the generations will grow up not knowing about neither the museum, neither what museum actually holds inside as a very rich and important collection. And also, I mean, what kind of role museum has in the society as a museum of contemporary art. So there was a lot of challenges. We have them still, but we are trying every day to overcome. And what one of my, let's say, mission was that I already agreed with all the team when I came into the museum to try to attract as much as possible public. So a few years to work on the very attractive exhibitions that can let's say, open up to the wider public and to be not only important in the art, in the sense of the art history or contemporary art, but with kind of interesting practice, and the practice that goes in the way of participation and which includes audience inside to do something or to collaborate or to be co-author, as we had this exhibition of Erwin Wurm, which was an Austrian artist who had the solo show in 2022. So this kind of exhibition that makes a little bit different program and to enable our society or visitors to become kind of co-authors together with the artists makes different feeling of being in the museum. So one of the things that I said, museum of course has it has this leading position at the educational institution, but also to be an institution where you can enjoy, entertain, and learn something new in a different way. So this, I think, it was really helpful, and our audience gave us, let's say, a lot of benefits in that they were coming, for us was very, very interesting that we had the different kind of generations coming into the museum. And right now, since next year, it's our big jubilee, 60 years of the museum. So we are preparing to put permanent exhibition from the collection. You probably know that this is really rich collection, since Museum of Contemporary Art that was built and opened in 1965 was the central museum of ex-Yugoslavia, and has a really rich, I would say now, international collection with most of the important, most famous artists from all the ex-Yugoslav cultural space, and the most important works of these authors. So we are very happy that now we are working on the conception of the permanent exhibition, and next year we will be able to show it in a new way, or some kind of new maybe readings of these works, but also our history.
I'm not going to be impolite and to ask even before that happens, because it's so before, and to ask what we can expect and what the audience can expect here, what kind of program. I know that this is in the making and that you are preparing, and that I'm quite confident that you're making a really good program and quality things that we are going to see here. Now, when you were talking, I actually also remembered why we cooperated so much within the Byte Initiative. Byte Initiative was focused on developing audience in contemporary art, and now when you were speaking, like, you are actually telling the whole vision of the Byte and why we exist and so on. And I'm so happy that we are collaborating so many years now, because all the things that you are doing here, we want to have in every single gallery in Serbia. We want to have in every single gallery in Europe or museum. And this is what we would like, actually, our other cultural operators to be as proactive in this field as you are. And you had that even a challenge that, as you said, the museum didn't work for 10 years. And then you started like developing something, like you needed first to start the institution, to kick off so many habits to change and so on. In the meantime, okay, I know that some temporary authorities were in the meantime, but still there were a lot of challenges ahead of you. One particular point is that Byte is also focused much more on younger audience. And now you were saying that you were developing out of public and you wanted public to know to the museum, but did you had some different approach when it comes to younger generations? Because even now, when the exhibition, when it's Monday morning, and you wouldn't expect anyone, but still I can see tens of young people here visiting the exhibition. Did you have any specific approach to them?
Yes, of course. We are developing different programs for different, let's say, ages of or groups of aging groups of our society. So we have different programs. But when you said about this, let's say, our vision or program that we are doing, I mean, of course, before I came to the museum, there were also very important few exhibitions. We don't we need to mention, of course, the big retrospective of Marina Abramović that attracted a lot of people, and not only from Serbia but from the region. And when I came here, I actually put a lot of attention on building up not only local society. I mean, it is very important, but it was also important to build up the image of the museum regionally and internationally. That was also one of the roles that we are doing as well, because it is important to bring up again position of the museum on the international map of the museum, because this institution was really important and was a leading museum when we speak about more or less now region. And but the program that we have with our public, it's kind of different. We have specialized program for children, for youngsters, and of course guiding tours on different ways during the week or weekend mostly, and for different public. Right now, for example, we have in different languages, in Serbian, in English, and in Russian, because we wanted to give the chance to the very big now population of Russian people in Serbia to have the tours in their own language. And but when we speak about younger generation, of course, they are much more attracted and much more focused on digital media. So we are trying to make these kind of programs or stories interesting to approach this younger population. I hope that we are succeeding in that.
Oh, we can see that you are.
Yes. There are many more and more coming. So I hope that we can attract them in a right way, and even to do it much better in the future.
I know that you're also organizing different kinds of programs, not only that they can visit exhibition, like you were mentioning some DJs, having some music.
Actually, we are preparing this very interesting program for our Jubilee next year for 60 years of the museum. So we will have a lot of things like that for the younger population, some DJs or some concerts as well, performances, so different kind of program that with which we will celebrate our 60 years of existence, but also to attract much more, even wider public. But for now, we had what was really interesting that we were doing together with Kišobran Association. It is a picnic in front of the museum, in almost the park that surrounds museum. So there were, every time when we did that, more than 2,000 people, usually young, with DJ sets, and it is always very, very interesting. And then in the collaboration with this association, we always do something in the museum for this public.
Traveling all around Europe and US mostly, and working on with cultural operators, I must say that you are in line with the latest trends and developments in that regard, and that you are actually doing everything which you can see in the US and so on, you can see here in the museum. And this is why I would also like to use this opportunity to invite other young people to come here and visit. They can have interactive parts, they can have this digitalization, they can have really quality art to see here, to educate themselves. And I think that this needs to be, let's say, a regular part of every child and every young people here in Belgrade, in Serbia. But okay, this is for the entrance to introduce our audience to what we are doing here. But the reason why we are gathered is that we want to talk about the women in contemporary art. And as you know, I already told you, you are one of the most important women in contemporary art in Serbia today. And we would really like to discuss with you your life path coming to this position, because women in contemporary art, in culture, but in all other spheres are subordinate, or to be more precise, less represented in the leading positions, and you're at the lead position of the most important institution in contemporary art here. So women are facing many barriers, stereotypes, prejudice on that way, and this is one of the reasons why they are so hard to get to those positions. So I'm curious to know, what was your career path in this regard? Can you relate to these challenges so far and so on?
Well, thank you again, but I hope I will not break one of the stereotypes. But right now, I mean, in Serbia, in most of the most important museums in Serbia, they are led by the women. So I think that is something that it's already changed in our society. And in this regard, I'm not the only person, I mean, leading a museum or being on the position of director of the important museum, as you said. But almost all my colleagues are women, including National Museum, Gallery of Matica Srpska in Novi Sad, Museum of Yugoslavia, many others museums. So they are now led by the very strong and interesting women and colleagues. So I know that this topic is very important right now, very interesting in regarding of Europe, maybe America, or some other parts of the world that are opening right now. But in Serbia, I would say that women have equal rights with men's. And it's not so difficult to come and to bear with this position, as you have many also colleagues that can help you in a way and share with you the same problems. Of course, in our society, I think every culture you have stereotypes, you have prejudice, and our culture is quite patriarchal. So there are many different things like that you need to bear with, maybe, but not in being, in being difficult to be on the position of director. We also had a woman on the position or in a very highly positioned. So I would say that our culture still has potential and has a possibility to give a place and good opportunity for the woman to become or to get to a very important role in the society, and to give really space and possibility to show to the world something equally as a man.
Since this is the situation, and I'm familiar with that, and in Serbia, as you said, that we have women running most important cultural institutions. And you rightly said that this is the challenge in Europe, this is the challenge in the US, and this is the challenge in many other fields, maybe even in Serbia. I must say that even large companies, for example, entrepreneurial sector is still dominant by the men, but we still have a lot to do as a society, globally, to do in that field. But what we have done successfully then in the art and culture, are there any lessons how actually women fought their way to the top? Do you have maybe some advice which you can share, or successful examples which we can share with the public in Europe? Or
in Europe, well, you are right. Definitely, still, I mean, when we are thinking about art and culture, and when we see the broader picture in Europe, of course, in most, let's say, important museums in the world are mostly dominated by the men, like MoMA or Guggenheim Museum. Let's say that they are very powerful, not only museums, by directors, but some positions are changing. Like in Tate in London, you have two women. And even some institutions with a long tradition, like Venice Biennale, last year, for the last edition, that was the first time that was a woman who got the possibility to be a curator and a selector for Venice Biennale. So also, first time, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, that was first time Louvre also on the position of director of Louvre came woman. And also in, I think, Vatican Museum. Now with this role after I don't know how many centuries was always leading by the man. Now the director of this museum is woman. So these things are changing, maybe not so fast, but are changing. And I think it is important to be, let's say, equally looked on the man and female. They can be equally good directors, and especially about museums or these kind of institutions. But when we speak about different parts, when it's about the market or collectors of art, they are mostly still men.
And this is what I wanted to ask.
And because maybe the business world is still leading by the men, and most powerful and important businesswomen, because collectors never came from different field than from the business, and they have possibility to buy art and be, let's say, art lover and supporter. In that sense, most of them are men, but also there are changes. So we can't even forget that in 20th century, one of the most important collector was also a woman, Peggy Guggenheim. So today also there are many very strong and important women, but maybe they are not so much, in the public speaking about that, or they are staying, maybe
in the shadow.
In the shadow of some big man, yes. But what is interesting when you said, how that there are in some part we don't know. We are always looking on the West. I mean, on the America or Europe, because it is something that is maybe the closest to us and the institution that we are used to collaborate. But some parts of the world are not now opening in a different way, that we don't know much about their culture. For example, in Arabic part of the world, they have an amazing woman. Her name is Almayasa bin Hamad al-Tayani. Amazing woman that is, I think, every year open at least one museum. So this is something that is new. She is really attached to make her country open to the whole world, because it was too many years probably closed, and in a way through art and culture. So that was her mission, and she is one of the, let's say, leading person when he's speaking about the Saudis. She is invited very often to speak about their culture, their issues, like many different things, because she is a very strong philanthropist on the first place.
I think that you provided us with a clear picture that actually women in culture and art are uprising, and even more and more are running most important and most significant institutions. And I hope that this is going to continue even more, because I see how many success women are bringing in culture and art. You mentioned market. And I wanted to use the opportunity, since you were leading also private galleries before, and now you're leading public institution, but still you have huge experience in collaboration with galleries and museums all around the world. I want to use the opportunity and to see, okay, if most of the collectors are men still, but women are here, what is about the perception of the art? So I find also data that on the art market still art made by men is more appreciated by than the art made by women. Is that correct, or you have different experience because of the collectors, not because of the people leading the institutions?
Yeah, well, I don't know this for sure, but I'm also following some research and the results of this kind of research. And I remember last year I was just reading one about these salaries in culture and art. On the, they made it on the behalf, either you are man or woman working. So I'm not sure if this exists in Serbia, this kind of differences when we are speaking about if artist is man or woman, but definitely in Europe, in America as well, there are differences in prices. And if you are working in the institutional gallery or whatever, where they have a system of negotiation for the prices or the salaries, then usually men get 30%, at least 30% higher prices or salaries on the position than it gets women. I don't know why this is happening, but I just hope that also this will change by the time.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine that you are actually coming to buy some art and then looking at this picture, this door, and so on in the space and wondering whether it's made by a man or by a woman, and still deciding on that you are going to buy. But apparently it happens. And I know, for example, you mentioned US, and I see that also find some data that due to that, in private galleries in the US, there is more representation, much more representation of the man artist. Like there is like around, I don't want to be wrong, but around 20% are women only. So this is for me a worrisome data, but as you said, it's not the case here in Serbia.
And we mentioned, I think, the role of Cecilia Lemani, the curator of previous Venice Biennale that I just mentioned, that she was the first woman on this position. And her actually curatorial topic was to put women artists on the focus that year. That was 2 years ago on the Venice Biennale. And after this Venice Biennale, actually what happened is that most of these most important museums and directors of the museum, as you said, they just started to think about how many in their collections are women represented, how much they take attention of contemporary artists who are women, and these kind of things. And I think this was actually the moment when in the art world people start to think about, how much actually female artists are presented, and they are presented inside of the collection of these very important museums. I must say that we can be proud of the thing that we had. I mean, maybe it was hopefully of socialism or our previous system that took, let's say, the position of female and male and look at them as the same. That we in our collection has a lot of female artists, and from the early stage. And if we speak about, for example, sculpture from the modernist period, where in Europe or America you will find just slight female women working on this field, we have a lot of them, and that's why we started a new edition of exhibition dedicated especially to this woman who was pioneers in modernist sculpture, but we have them very early in our collection already from 50s of 20th century. So this was something that we wanted really to show, proudly to say that we very early had not only female artists working in sculpture, but also we have very early them acclaimed, in our collection.
And this is actually part of your then strategic approach, since then you are aware of the legacy that this institution is having. So I have some feeling that this kind of promoting women artists and women art is part of the strategic approach of the museum, if I'm not wrong?
Well, yes, maybe, or definitely, but having, different kind of look on it. Because when you said, and I'm quite right, that all the world now is a little bit focused more on female artists. We are too, but giving a different story about them in our society. So we must actually reflect on our own history and our own tradition and say that, yes, we are proud to have them, and we would like also to maintain the role of female artists in our society. We can think today about contemporary art, about Marina Abramovic and performance art. So this is kind of also very important tradition. So we need maybe to invest even more in this performance art or female artists, to see today how much actually we have this very interesting, specific artist in our society of today or future.
What would you say, for example, to your colleagues, like some advices, not only here in Serbia, but speaking more broadly in Europe? What would you advise to them when it comes to actually promoting of gender equality in culture and art and so on? Are there any tips you would like to share with them?
Gender equality. Well, working in the museum and in art for quite long, I can't say that that it is important to be male or female for doing art. What is important to have a really to love what you are working, to have a vision as an artist, and to create something incredible. But something that you believe that it's incredible, first of all. So I will never, make this kind of differences between female and male art. For us, working in the museum, it only exists good and maybe not so good art.
That's nice to hear. Majo, for the end, we provided quite nice retrospective of how actually the position of women in art and culture. But we are still aware, and maybe this is one of the facts that about when we speak about the market and why actually men's art is more expensive or more bought. One of the problems is in the society, and in general, I wanted to ask you, how important do you find then the role of contemporary art in emancipation of the society, in education of the society about importance of gender equality? And do you have maybe some programs that are designed not here talking about inside or about statistics of the museum and successes, but more about how to educate people here in Serbia about importance of gender equality?
Through the art.
Through contemporary art.
Well, contemporary art now it's really wide in this kind of topic, because it's not maybe only about gender equality. I think they are far away from these problems in the way of maybe LGBT now problems, or different kind of freedoms that some groups of our society wants to achieve. So following these contemporaneities in our society, we also, of course, try to give the kind of approach to them, and to help within the artist, of course, to speak about some or problems or ideas or visions, how we can all together overcome some challenges or problems in society that we have. So it is always, collaborative work together with the artists, because they are the leading in the leading role and position, and we are just helping them to spread these ideas to the public.
Maja, would you like to employ me here?
No. Yes.
I'm joking. So basically, after listening to all what you are saying about the art and everything that I'm doing through Byte, this is actually where I would like to be the part
Well, I
of.
must say that it's always very nice and very pleasant to speak and to work with. And I hope that we will have opportunity, and almost I'm sure that we will have opportunity to work much more in our digital, let's say, videos that we are planning to do with our collection. There are many, many amazing things and interesting that we can show to our public through these short digital stories about our artists or our artworks. They are now in our storages, but will hopefully very soon be out and promoted to our public. But also because the collection is so big, some of the works will stay closed and not possible for everyone to see. So this kind of videos or short stories, I think can be perfect to share with our public and to get them know about what we have, because what we have is actually, to all of us, belongs to all of us.
We would be glad to be part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maya, for being a guest of the Byte of Art podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Byte of Art podcast. Subscribe to our channel and follow us for more trends in contemporary art. See you until next episode.